What's going on, everyone? It's Nina Infinity. Welcome to my channel. And today we're going to be reviewing Superman. I saw it and I enjoyed it. There was definitely flaws, but there was definitely a lot of good things. So I wanted to give you my perspective. I'm going to try and keep this as spoiler free as possible. But when I do go into spoilers, I'll give you a warning. But needless to say, I was happy with the result of James Gunn's Superman. I think there's been a lot of discourse about it, which is kind of cool to see because the discourse has been interesting about the movie, not necessarily about the topics that the media wanted to cover regarding the movie. Like it's about an immigrant story or some BS like that. But actually, the discourse has been about what the movie was presented as, which was a superhero story. I really liked David Corenswet's Superman. I don't know if I'm still saying his name right. I apologize if I didn't. I think he's a great Superman. He has taken on the torch from Henry Cavill, who I adored as Superman, even though I did not like Man of Steel. I loved Henry Cavill as Superman, but I think the torch has been officially passed on, and I think that he definitely did a great job as Superman. The cast was actually quite amazing. Terrific, dare I say, because Mr. Terrific was very good. Guy Gardner, he was great. I was having a lot of fun watching those two. The banter between the characters was really funny. There was a part where they even made fun of, well, somebody made fun of Guy's hair, which was a really good joke. I liked it. It did have a lot of humor because it is James Gunn. So he definitely brought that life into it. It's a different perspective. So obviously, if you're the last Superman movie you are used to is the Snyder version, this is wholly different from the Snyder vision. It is colorful and hopeful and all the things that I wanted in Superman when I was watching the Snyder version. Other cast members that really killed it for me was Lois Lane. She did really good. And of course, Lex Luthor. I think Nicholas Hoult as Lex Luthor for me was great. I thought he was just so evil. That is what you want in a Lex Luthor. He was so evil. He was so diabolical. Just all the things you want in a good villain. And I was super excited going into this movie about Lex Luthor, and I was happy that I got exactly what I thought I was going to get. Now, one of the problems I actually did have with the movie was the advertising for the movie. I thought that the advertising for the movie was god awful. I originally even commented on how the trailer was way too long, the first trailer that they released, and then of course they released another one, and then we got all of these different clips that were out of context. And I feel like it would have even had a bigger impact on me if I hadn't watched all those clips, because a lot of them happened very early on in the movie. And I just feel like it was just all spoiled. I was like, why do I already know what's going to happen? I don't like that. So that's something that I didn't like. I think they definitely dropped the ball on the advertising for this, because the other conversation was about this whole immigrant thing, which really wasn't in the movie. There was definitely a geopolitical message in it, in a sense, because I mean, it is Superman, but the basic plot of the movie is basically how Lex Luthor is evil and is doing things to mess with Superman, which is what you want. That's what you want in a Superman story, especially one that's about Lex Luthor and Superman. I've heard a lot of complaints that there was too many characters. I kind of agree with that. I think there could have been less characters, even though I really like Mr. Terrific and Guy. I thought that they could have maybe done without Hawkgirl. She just seemed kind of really meh, and you don't really get to know her or anything about her. She just seemed out of place. I think that she just seemed kind of way off, because both Mr. Terrific and Guy added something, whereas in she just didn't. She just seemed like, okay, she's extra. Like you can get rid of her and the movie's the same. As far as CG and stuff like that go, it's a CG movie, okay? You're not gonna get away from it. There's gonna be terrible CG parts. There's gonna be not so bad CG parts. Some of it was good, some of it was bad. All in all, it was fine. There was a lot going on, so it's not like you could really focus on anything. What else? Oh, okay. Some complaints about the movie. So I thought the dog was really dumb. I'm not gonna lie, the dog was not good. Honestly, I feel like the Homeward Bound dogs were smarter than this dog. It's weird because I went in thinking that you're gonna get to see like a dog has a little bit of more of an intelligence because it's super dog. It's not just gonna be, oh, he's just super strong and can fly kind of thing. I thought he would have a little bit more mental fortitude, but he didn't. And he was one of the most unruly, dumb dogs I've ever seen. And they kind of tried to explain it away in the end with the spoiler of somebody else who comes in, which I'm not talking about right now. I'll get to it maybe a little bit later in the review. But it just didn't fit for me. And I'm going to go into a little bit of a spoiler not a little bit. This is going to be spoiler territory. So be prepared. Spoiler territory here. So a couple of complaints I had with regards to the story. I obviously, like a lot of other people, didn't like the whole Jor-El message. Kal-El's parents leave him a message. And in the first half, you're kind of always seeing this first half of the message where Jor-El and his mom are telling him, we sent you to this planet for you to protect and be its protector and all these kind of stuff. Like, we love you and blah, blah, blah. And so later in the movie, something happens with Lex Luthor, who breaks into the Fortress of Solitude and then ends up recovering the rest of the message that basically tells Kal-El that he is there to take over the planet and get a harem and start to plant his Kryptonian seed and to basically rule over Earth in that way. And it was weird because it felt really off in comparison to the first message that he was receiving from his parents. And one of the characters was thinking that maybe it was faked or whatever that was working for Lex. And Lex was like, no, that was all real. And it just felt like maybe Lex is lying because he is a liar. And I thought at some point that they're going to get to that point where they're like, oh, that was all fake because Lex deep faked it or something. But they didn't do that. But I'm still not giving up hope on that because I think that may be a storyline in the following movie, which is going to be Supergirl. Speaking of which, since we're still in spoiler territory, that was who they revealed in the last 5 minutes of the movie, who basically just kind of showed up and she was drunk and she's like this, I don't know, kind of like Gen Z drunk girl that's like partying somewhere. And that felt really off. And she calls Superman a bitch. It's weird though, because it's like as if she's doing it because that's what girls do. They're like, what's up, bitch? Like that kind of thing. And I think people taking that a little too literally, like, oh, Superman's being called a bitch and that makes him a bitch. And that's not really what it was like. But it's also not cool. So it was just like, I could have gone without that. It would have been cooler, in my opinion, if they had done it so the robots receive a transmission or something like that from her being like, hey, how's my dog? And she's off planet or something, which kind of would excuse her absence of why she's not in the movie and where she is during this entire time that all this stuff is happening and she's nowhere to be found and somehow she's off partying somewhere. But maybe that is what they're going to explain later. Maybe she was off planet and she just came back home. I don't know. But either way, I think that through her, they'll probably explain that message was faked because it just felt really off. And it feels like almost like a plant. Oh, this isn't actually what's going to happen. Like Jor-El and them aren't really evil. So I don't know. It like I said, it felt off for the movie. That's why I think a lot of people are judging it in a bad way because they think that that's the plot and that he's actually evil because they wanted to tie it in the end so that Superman is now watching videos of Ma and Pa Kent, who are his actual parents now instead of Jor-El and his mother, when that was what it was like at the beginning of the movie. I've also seen a lot of discourse online where people are talking about how he was really weak and stuff like that, and I didn't see it like that at all. He was very strong and he definitely saved himself. He fought against many villains and most of the time he was doing cleanup for the different people that were fighting and didn't care about who was getting injured. So he was going around and rescuing people and literally like he rescued basically like any creature that you would see. It's very Superman-like. I really think that people are forgetting this is a third-year Superman. He's still very young. He's not in his 30s. He's just a young Superman. So I think that they're kind of leaving room for him to grow. There was a bunch of times, yes, he does get beat up, but he gets back up. I think that was in the theme of the hero. I don't know what people want with regards to Superman because it feels weird to have a character just be godlike and have no flaws and be invincible, basically, and have nobody be able to beat him or whatever. I'm not really sure what people want because that's boring. You do need some type of adversity. You do need to grow as a character. And that's why Superman movies hard to make because most people just think he's kind of like God and has no flaws. And that's not really true as far as like the character that I've gotten to know, especially through the 90s animated series, which is my familiarity with the character. That's where my start was with the character. But of course, I've seen every iteration of the movies since then. And of course, I have my favorites, which is Christopher Reeve, but you're never going to get that. I feel like people are kind of like they have this idealized version of Superman in their head, and no one can recreate that for them. He is such a beloved character, and it's really hard to capture that for a lot of people. In that sense, James Gunn didn't have an easy job, and I think it's good to give him room to grow. I didn't want to see just an OP character and just like he can't do no wrong. I like that there's room to grow. And he saved so many people in this movie. But of course, he needed help. He needed Mr. Terrific's help for the techie stuff, for example. Or when he can't be in two places at once, he got Guy and them to go do something else. Him and Batman at some point will form the Justice League. So he does have a team of heroes that work with him. So I don't understand why people are like, oh, we just want Superman to do everything by himself because he's so like macho and this and that. And I'm like, that's not really Superman. Superman, he does know that he needs help sometimes. That's the whole point of Justice League. Like why they create Justice League is because they realize they can't do it by themselves. So, which is not in this show, but I'm just not understanding the idea of why everybody wants him to be so flawless, I guess. I did think that he did fine. He did rescue a lot of people. He was a hero and he did just fine in that sense. But also let's talk about Ma and Pa Kent, because I didn't really like the casting of Ma and Pa Kent. They did seem a little bit too country. It just wasn't, it didn't hit for me. But I did like the conversation that Clark was having with his father, Jonathan Kent, who actually was really positive. It was a positive message. He was telling him like how much proud of him he is for doing all the stuff that he's been doing, and that basically they're his parents and he has received the values from them, not from his alien parents. And so I thought that whole speech was really sweet, which you can kind of hear in one of the trailers. Like you can hear Jonathan can kind of give him that speech in one of the trailers, which goes to show that you shouldn't give everything away in the trailer, because that scene probably would have been more impactful if it wasn't in the trailer, because that was like one of the only scenes with Ma and Pa Kent. I just didn't like the actors for those two, and it was weird because in Man of Steel you got Kevin Costner, but I hated Kevin Costner's Jonathan Kent, because I was like, you're telling Superman to let kids die, but now we don't have Kevin Costner. We have this other guy and he's sucks, but he's also the good version of Jonathan Kent. So I don't know. It's just weird. There was a scene where something was going on in the background, and once Superman finds out about what happened with that message, he kind of gets bummed out, and he's talking to Lois about it, and he's trying to explain to Lois, like, that's not who I am. And Lois is like, you're right. And that was actually the scene they kind of showed in the first poster where he's putting on his boots to go out again. That scene wasn't in the movie, but they kind of mixed it up so that in the outside, some alien creatures showed up and the other heroes are taking care of it. The Justice Gang are taking care of it. And I thought that was really interesting because it kind of showed that in this world, there's always something going on. And one of the reasons that Superman needs help is because there's always something going on. And he was just kind of like, well, I'm just letting them handle it. And then he was just conversing with Lois, which I thought was interesting as well. And I actually did really like that scene. I thought it was good. My favorite scene was probably with, again, spoiler alert here, but my favorite scene was definitely one of the scenes with Lex Luthor where he plays Russian roulette with a character. And that part was, whoa. I was like, ooh, that's dark. It was a good scene to establish his villainness. So I really like that. All in all, like I said, I enjoyed the movie. I wouldn't say it's perfect by any means. I give it probably a 7 out of 10. There's definitely room for improvement, but I was happy with the cast. I was happy with pretty much everything. And I have hope. I think they're gonna probably try and fix what happened. At least I hope so. If they don't, it's gonna be weird if they don't. It'll probably change my perspective on the movie if we go forward with Supergirl and other movies that come out and they never address this situation and actually becomes canon for that universe. I won't like that. But for now, I'm giving them a chance to kind of fix it. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. But for now, I had a lot of fun. I did. And I recommend you guys go. It was a fun movie. It was a popcorn flick. And just go and have fun. We don't get a lot of these really fun movies. And so go enjoy. And let me know what you think of it when you do. So that's it for my review. I hope you enjoyed it. And thank you for watching, and make sure you smash a like, leave the comment, let me know what your thoughts were about everything. And yeah, until next time, you guys, take care, everybody. Bye.